I'll go ahead and get started. And then the first question that I ask you guys is, since this is an entrepreneurial podcast, and even though everybody may not be an entrepreneur, what if you could start over day one in your career field, right, in your respective industry? What advice would you give to your younger self today that you did not receive when you got started?
I'll go first. For me, it would be don't allow fear to take the driver's seat. In actuality, I would say have a growth mindset, and that really failure is a part of growth.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Dr. Webster, we're gonna go with you. Go ahead.
If I could tell my younger self or starting over, someone even coming into business, I would definitely tell them to always prepare for the next. One thing that I have learned and understand that we have to pivot. One thing I learned from the pandemic, and I know it's probably a question related to that coming up, is that in business, you have to prepare to pivot. At any point, things can change. We're in a time where inflation is at an all-time high, as we all know. We're in election season. So there's so much that's changing, so much that's going to take place with entrepreneurship. So you have to prepare to pivot. So one thing that I would say when the pandemic hit, I'm in home care. There were so many changes that came down the pipeline. There was so much that went on that we literally had to pivot right then and there. As all of us know, we were not prepared for it. It came out the blue. And so I would prepare better for things that the unexpected things to occur. So financially being prepared, preparing staff mentally, being able to make sure that my leaders can step up to where they need to be. And so I would say preparation is one thing that I would make sure to tell someone else in entrepreneurship. It can change from one day to the next, and you got to be prepared to shift when it happens.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, Kayla, I saw that you were about to go, so I didn't want to leave you out. Go ahead.
No worries. One thing I will tell my younger self is to do research. Like really do the research, learn about your industry, and network within your industry. I know a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we all want to be the master at what we're talking about and what we're doing, but always be a learner. You cannot stop learning because, like Miss Dr. April just said, things change and you have to pivot and you have to be ready to shift. And the more knowledge you know, the easier it is for you to apply those skill set so you can continue to grow. So never stop learning and really get invested with the research so you will be the master and very knowledgeable in what you're doing across your industry as a whole, not just in your one lane, but across the whole industry.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Well, although I'm not an entrepreneur, but one of the things I would encourage entrepreneurs is um, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Making mistakes is the part of the process, and they're actually can make you better because you can learn more from your mistakes than you can from your successes. Also, keep in mind that you're not in it alone. You know, it may feel like it, but as Kayla mentioned, you can network with learn from people in your industry. A lot of people don't mind giving you advice and to help you grow. Help your business thrive. Also, there are a ton of resources out there. So when you're doing your research in terms of on your industry, how you get your business started, you can do research into organizations that are looking to offer resources to small businesses. So um, yeah, so don't be afraid to step out there and fail, and just as long as you get up and keep trying.
Gotcha. I love that. I love that all those were great suggestions for new entrepreneurs, new people stepping into a career or seasoned. I mean, everybody could add that to their lifestyle and life and business. So I know it was kind of mentioned by Dr. Webster, so we'll just lead into it now. So we're about 3 years, 2 to 3 years fully removed from COVID. I know COVID was a huge buzzword over the past 5 years, 4 or 5 years. So I don't want to necessarily dive too deep into the period of COVID, but since we have kind of returned to some normalcy, within COVID, what positive and negative impacts has returning back from COVID had on your industry?
Okay. I would say that because I am in the health and wellness industry, it actually has had a positive impact for the health and wellness industry because COVID allowed a lot of people to be more in tune with their health, allow people to really want to take control of their health, exercise more, eat more healthier. So, as far as the cold pressed juice industry, it definitely positively because people are now wanting to be more healthy. So that way, if we ever experience anything like COVID, their health will not be compromised and they want to be active. They want to be on top of their health, especially when you're going down the natural remedies to be healthy. So it's been very positive for me.
I would like to say, in regards to what I do, home care agency, it has been very positive as well because we were able to implement some new programs that we did not have prior to the pandemic. So we started a nutrition program because, as we know, health is wealth. And one thing that's so important for us is making sure the members that we serve, that their nutrition, they're eating a balanced meal and things like that. So we came up with a whole new program that is funded through the state of Tennessee that was able to help us be able to target some areas because the people that we support during the pandemic could not get out, could not exercise, could not really do the things that they normally were doing as far as trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So now we've incorporated some new things that we're tracking and trending and those type of things. So it has been a very positive thing for us with home care agencies.
So just kind of tapping into that as well, to speak on something that Kayla said is that I think, during the pandemic, we didn't really get a lot of the natural remedies broadcasted, but that was the thing that was bringing people back from COVID, right? So eating immune boosting foods, taking in herbs, things like that, aside from just the vaccine, I think nutrition and being able to be well within yourself definitely curbed a lot of the people that were getting sick who did take the initiative to do that. Uh, uh, Derrick or Angela, did you want to chime in on that question?
Oh, yes. For me, because I have a home-based business, in actuality, it kind of just flowed more in line in my bookkeeping services because people who are in like brick and mortar, they had to kind of navigate to a new way of doing business, and it brought about flexibility and options. And so that virtual way of doing business, even the Zoom like we're doing today, that became more popular and it is today. So it allowed me to even to expand my business because I was already in a position to navigate that virtual work from home as opposed to in a brick and mortar.
And so, from my perspective, I guess as a banker, I was able to see the positive side and the negative side of the negative impact of COVID. Because on one hand, you had a lot of businesses that couldn't thrive because they maybe were in brick and mortar, and they may have lost a lot of revenue due to the shutdown, or due to after COVID kind of died down, you saw a significant increase in expenses, the costs, and many business owners had to pass the cost on to their customers. And there was a big struggle for a lot of small businesses. But on the other hand, a lot of businesses end up thriving. And COVID, to a degree, became a blessing in disguise. So a lot of businesses were able to continue to do their business and grow revenue and continue to grow after COVID. And then a lot of people had to make adjustments. So now you got more virtual calls nowadays that people are able to take advantage of, when maybe a few years ago, people were like, what's Zoom? What's Teams? How do you do this? Now it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do most of my meetings on Zoom because it's so convenient now. But I think COVID is just what happened with COVID-19 and that period of time, and even today, is a good lesson. It shows that as a business owner, you always have to be prepared to make adjustments. Always be prepared for change. Because change is inevitable. There are always going to be things that are out of your control, and you're just going to have to make adjustments.
Eric, and can I add something else to this
Go ahead.
portion of the conversation? One thing that I read in Forbes magazine, because I'm constantly reading, and it said the number of Black self-employed professionals jumped from 1.1 million in February of 2020, which right there at the pandemic, to 1.2 million in February of 2022.
Wow.
So additionally, there are currently more than 2 million Black-owned small business in America. So the pandemic, it shifted people's mind to where people realize, look, the 9 to 5 clocking in for somebody else may not be so it has allowed African Americans to grow and to see that there are things that we can tap into for ourselves and to do. So I just wanted to share that little information too.
Yeah, I think necessity definitely drives innovation, right? So, you know, something happens, you gotta make something happen. And I think the pandemic happened to a lot of people, but you still have to respond to what happens to you. And you know, people still gotta eat, you know, so doing that, and like you mentioned, the gig economy grew, people started doing stuff, freelance stuff, people starting businesses. People were, you know, furthering that little side hustle that they had been doing and turned it into actual business. So speaking of
Can I
engineering,
add something right here really quick though?
go ahead.
I read that same thing in that article, and one thing that stuck out to me that I did a little bit more research about was not only did Black business kind of was impacted and went up through the roof, but also women. And one of the main reason why women is because our schools was closed. We didn't have anybody that was going to keep our kids, and we had to figure out, like, do we go to work, where do we do with our kids? And a lot of women was almost kind of forced to take their side hustle, to take their hobby into a business, because we really just didn't have any other option, especially single mothers like me. So I just want to add, like, that was another layer to how it positively impacted the economy, and when we're looking at just women business as well.
I love that. That was very work. That needed to be said. That definitely needed to be said. That definitely needed to be said. Kind of segueing into a pivot, right? We talked about new business owners. We talked about people turning their side hustle into business. Ms. Richardson, I know you're in bookkeeping. Derrick, you're in banking. I want you guys to possibly kind of chime in though in the importance of the financial component as to keeping accurate track of your business and how it relates to the growth of a business. Since people are kind of moving from that side hustle and that hobby to a business, how important is that in going to the next level?
Okay, I can go first with that. Yes, the financial side is very important. Unfortunately, um, financial is not like a product. It's not like something you can go to the shelf and purchase. So it's more intangible, and to get the buy-in about the importance of your numbers, because within that, going back to that COVID cycle, when you have good record keeping, it made it very easy to apply for the support and assistance. When your numbers are in check, you can go to the bank, if even with the PPP loan and things of that nature, you needed the financial records to support your business. So in that, I encourage business owners to know their numbers. It's important to have, uh, and one of the things that you don't have to be a bookkeeper or accountant, but you do need to have good record keeping. And that is something that is kind of hard to convey when you're actually doing work in your business, to understand the value of what record keeping and knowing your financials, the long term positive it can do for you. At least even give you clarity if you need to make a shift, pivot, you need to get funding or loan or change even the way you're doing business. And knowing your numbers and having that information is a good tool for business owners.
Yeah, and I totally agree with Ms. Richardson. Knowing your numbers is very important. So when you transition from a side hustle or to a side gig, something you're just doing, and then you turn around and try to make it into an official business, as you mentioned, it's very important that you keep track of your numbers, and you can do that in a number of ways. But simply, you can start off by tracking your income and your expenses through your bank statements. So this may be already, a lot of you may already know this, but some entrepreneurs don't realize this, that you need to have a separate bank account for your income. And so you keep that account separate from any of your personal income. And the only thing that needs to be going in and out of that account is your income from your business and any expenses related to your business, right? And that is the first step to keeping track of income. Then you can transition over to working with a bookkeeper or getting some platform like QuickBooks, something that will help someone who can help to teach you how to keep track of your numbers. I know for many entrepreneurs, it can be tough trying to process all this information, trying to input each expense, each sale you have, which is why you pull someone in who's, I think Ms. Richardson, she's the bookkeeper. So someone like Ms. Richardson, you pull her in to help you, guide you. That way you can focus more on selling your products or your skill. Next thing is maybe tax returns. That could be, I think tax return is a big holdup for many entrepreneurs, and we probably get into this more later, but knowing how to report your expenses, report your income, but also knowing how not to report so many expenses that you're not showing any revenue, right? Because I know at a certain point, a lot of us don't want to pay taxes, and the government understands that. So you share the expense as much as you can. But when it comes to your banking relationship or coming to a lender or a CDFI, we need to see income, right? Now we can look at your bank statements and we can look at your P&L statements, your profit and loss statement, but we also need to look at your tax return. So that's another step. You have to learn how to manage your tax returns and find that balance between trying to save as many taxes, as much on taxes as possible, but also showing enough revenue. That way, when you're ready to apply for a loan or a grant or anything to show that you have income, that you're showing a nice balance.
Yeah, that's very important. That's very important. And you mentioned something that's key is like, we're thinking about, especially when filing taxes, you want to expense the most, so you have to pay the less. I mean, pay the least, and that's one of the things that people transitioning from corporate America, who are W-2, moving into a business owner, business owners typically pay at tax time, right? And W-2 employees get paid at tax time most of the time, right? So, that can be a challenging transition for some people. It's just like, hey, now I have to pay Uncle Sam instead of it being coming out of pocket. So I think a good thing to do is to kind of set some mechanisms up in place to where you can divvy that up automatically, similar to when you were a W-2 employee, because as an entrepreneur, that responsibility is on you. It requires you to have that financial discipline to say, hey, I made this money, but how do I decipher what's mine and then what's Uncle Sam's and then what goes to the bill? So I definitely agree with both of those statements. Um, so just to kind of ask a different question as well, with you guys. So we're kind of transitioning into a new age, right? So we're moving into the future. Things are virtual. A lot of the way that we did business has changed. And now the way that business is being impacted by technology is changing drastically, right? So and we have the introduction of artificial intelligence moving into business now. It's a positive to some folks, it's a negative to other folks, right? Me personally, I think that it is a positive, if we get in front of it, right? But I would love to hear from you guys about how the increased popularity and the utility of artificial intelligence has affected you and how you've incorporated it into your daily life and business.
Okay, I was very excited to talk about this because I use AI in a lot of different things that I do. So currently, I am a one woman show. So I do not have any staff. So currently, I'm using AI to help with my social media content. I use AI to help draft emails. I use AI to help me review documents as I'm putting together my organizational plan, putting together my business plan. I really AI knows everything about the city juicery, at least my account. It is very helpful because when you are writing a business plan, it can be very overwhelming. It can be very intimidating, right? And I'm not really strong. Like English is not my thing. Math and science is. So I'm already not really strong in those capabilities. And then when you are a business owner and you're juggling every little piece of your business, one thing that you don't want to worry about is social media. But we live in a digital space, and it's like if you are not on social media, you do not exist. Like, who are you? You're nobody. So I really believe in AI. I promote it. It is very helpful. Now, I don't. However, you do want to still review your documents. I tell people this all the time. Just because you put it in there and it shoots something out that looks beautiful doesn't mean that it's correct. It doesn't mean that's the message you were trying to convey. So you do still want to take the ownership and the accountability of going through to make sure that it's in alignment to what you want to put out to the world about who you are in your business. But I do think AI is a very simple tool that can be used for all entrepreneurs on every level, just to take away some stress, especially when you're trying to balance every little role. Or if you do have a team, you're still being pulled left to right when your team needs that assistance. So I think everybody should be using AI. If you're not using AI, I pray that one day you will, and don't be afraid of it. I know we thought the world was going to end in 1999, but we're still here rocking and rolling. Take advantage of AI and just really let some of those simple tasks no longer be such a big stressor. Just use AI.
I agree totally.
Um, to Kayla's point, I use AI, but it's in a limited role for now. I mainly use it as a tool to gather information, particular when I'm about to deal with a potential client. It helps me to research that particular industry. I can gather data about what best practices that they use at that particular. Say, for example, if someone was a photographer, I can put that in and see what the best practice, what that industry does, and I can come up with some accounting, I guess, accounts that might be relevant specifically for that need. So it has a wide range of data. So it streamlined the research that I would have to do. So it's a time saver for me as far as expanding on learning more about an industry that I can take that tool and develop some kind of accounting practices for a potential client.
Okay, and I was just going to add to the fact of AI. It is definitely something that I do not use for one business, which is my home care agency. But for my other business, as Kayla mentioned, that's all on social media. So my business that I sell my lipstick brand, my business that I sell my books, my content, those things, AI is good for. So I think with AI, it's important for a person to really do the research as far as how it can assist you and help you with what your target is, what that audience that you're trying to engage in. So, like I said, AI is not for everybody, but for certain things and for certain industries, I definitely think it is helpful, especially as she stated, social media. As y'all know, that is just we're in a technology era, and we have to definitely become tech savvy in so many ways. So, I think it's definitely fun. I've been doing presentations on it and reading on it. So I'm enjoying learning about AI and just the different things that it can do. But for my home care agency, we're staying away from AI. So it just depends on, I would definitely say what a person is trying to do in their brand.
Got you. You know, I always use this line when I talk to people about AI is that AI should be an extension of your own genius. So kind of like how Kayla said, you still want to kind of fact check. You still want to make sure that you are not just taking everything for face value, but I think as an entrepreneur and as any type of professional, you know, being more efficient is going to be critical for everybody. And AI just kind of aids to your efficiency that allows for you to have basically more hands in the pot, even if you're just one person. So I use it in my business every single day. It's kind of helped me double my productivity just, from a management perspective. We all know about content creation, but just the aspect of having something that can think faster than we can, I think is a good tool to have. So this is Black History Month. I believe everybody on the call is Black, and the viewers who may see this in the future may not be, but we're still gonna highlight Black people in Black History Month. Well, Black History 365. But what do you think is the most crucial element of success in the realm of Black entrepreneurship? So anybody feel free to jump in on this, but what do you think is the most crucial element?
I think for me, one of the most impactful elements is really being in position to bring other people up. I think so often, entrepreneurs are just tunnel vision on their goal, their end resorts, what they're chasing, that sometimes they get out of touch with the community and out of touch with collaborating. If we do look back at Black history for say, we learned that most of them organized together, they worked together, they pulled their resources together because that's just so much more impactful. So for me, I think really just keep leading the way and remember to bring your community up with you, giving those younger entrepreneurs opportunities, right? So as the city juicery grows and I start to partner with Belmont University, Vanderbilt University, and my budget gets bigger, hey, now I don't have to use AI, for example, to roll out my content. Maybe I can partner with a Black on content creation business or someone who has interest into that. So I just think like, us stand together as a community and really trying to put all of our resources on the table together just adds more value because everybody can operate in their own lane as a master at their craft. But when we're operating as a community together and everyone is showing up as their authentic self, and this person can focus on marketing, this person can focus on the bookkeeping, this person can focus in on being the community advocate, we can just be much more impactful with circulating that Black dollar because guess what? Now Belmont is not only putting money in my business, but it's also funneling money through these other businesses that I have brought to this table to join me. So I think, we have to keep collaborating. We just do. We cannot be a one-stop shop. We cannot be greedy and trying to take all the money. How can my sisters and brothers have this same seat at this table and be equal to me regardless if I'm 10 years in the game or in their 1 year? So that's my thoughts.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Now, I'll just piggyback on what she said. I'm totally in agreement with that. Community is the key. I always say that greatness does not occur in isolation.
Mm.
So it takes all of us to make a difference, and you'll be surprised what you thought you didn't know that somebody else may can enlighten you, and there's strength in numbers. So as a community, I think it's important that we network and support each other.
And just in agreement with the ladies, what they have both already stated, I think is very truthful. For me, one of the things that I'm very big on community. I'm very big on giving back to the community. And one thing I do go to the high schools. I get an opportunity to speak at high schools. I get a chance to go to Lane College. I speak there. I try to make sure the tools that I have learned along the way, that I pass it on and I pay it forward. So I think no matter how much I grow in business or how much I learn, if I cannot help the next generation that's coming after me, then I have failed. So I try to make sure that, as Kayla mentioned, I try to bring other people up with me. I'm blessed where I've been able to create jobs for people to work in my agency and to be able to help generational wealth and those type of things. So for me, it's all about making sure that my community is good, that I am empowering other people to be successful. I can teach you some things, but then I need you to be able to stand on your own so you can teach the next person. So each one teach one. It's so important for us to pass along the knowledge. If we just hold it all to ourselves, then that's just being selfish. We're not doing anything to feed the village and to feed our community. I'm always trying to make sure that I am encouraging, empowering, and uplifting the people that are connected to me and around me and that I have reached. And I'm trying to inspire them to understand that if I can do it, you can too. There is no limit to what any of us can do. So I think it's very important that we focus on our community, that we serve, that we show that we're able to be servant leaders and give back. So those are my main focus.
I think the ladies really just hit it on the head and made excellent points because from my perspective, when I see thriving Black businesses and as they mentioned, hiring Black employees or educating one another, working together, that's going to be Black people putting Black dollars in their employees. And those same individuals are going to go out and spend their dollars in those local businesses. And that dollar is going to rotate. It's going to circulate through that economy. And that's what help a community thrive because they're keeping those dollars within that community by supporting those businesses, by employing Black individuals in the community. And those people will go off and they may leave, but they know they can come back home to businesses thrive and even be encouraged to open businesses themselves. And that's how you grow a community. That's how you grow the economy. That's how you grow generational wealth.
And one other thing I just want to add real quick before we move to the next question also is sharing resources. And I think someone mentioned earlier, not being afraid to share your resource. So for instance, in the home care agency, there is not a lot of Black-owned business in this area, in this field. But when new ones come along, for some reason, the state actually refer them to me. So they have me as one of a success story that they share. And so I get a lot of phone calls when people are coming into this field and they may be in the Nashville, they may be in Middle, they may be in East Tennessee, or they are in West. And they'll just ask me general questions. And I'm never afraid to say, oh, well, I don't know if I want to share that. I want them to win because I know it's a lucrative business and it is enough people for all of us to serve. So I make sure that I share the resources that no one shared with me. When I started my business, no one attempted to share. So I make sure that I tell them, listen, be careful, watch this, be mindful, invest here, count your dollars here, make sure I give them what I have learned along the way.
I think all y'all said excellent points, excellent points. If I could just sum it up, it's about we and not I, right? And then just don't gatekeep your resources. I think that's one thing that holds us back, especially in our community. We call a spade a spade. It's about, what I got. It's about, how much am I shine, right? It's not about us. It's about I. So I love everything that you guys said. There's really nothing more to be said on that. And speaking of the Black dollar, Mr. Martin, I would want to ask you a question about you working with Pathway Lending. If you can kind of explain to the group what a CDFI is, and then how is it different from a traditional bank?
Yes. So CDFI stands for Community Development Financial Institutions. These institutions are mission-based and lenders. And as lenders, we focus on helping the underserved and unbankable businesses. So at Pathway Lending, we focus on minorities, specifically African-American owned businesses, as well as women, veteran, low income, and veteran business owners as well. So part of our mission is to support these businesses not only on the lending side, but also on the education side, which is something that many CDFIs do as well. So with a CDFI, we are an alternative lending source, and we come into play to help businesses that may not be eligible for a traditional bank loan or from a traditional credit union. We help them get access to capital that they need to help their business grow, right? And we, again, do that in two ways. One, by providing flexible terms that they can meet, and two, by providing the education because many entrepreneurs may not understand the process of applying for a business loan. They may not know what documents to provide. And so we help guide them along. For example, we have business advisors who will speak with a customer on the pre-application side of things and help them work through the application process. And if they're approved, those business advisors are still there to help that business, help educate them, checking in on them once a month to see how things are going, to make sure they're understand how to organize their financials, understand a balance sheet, understand what a profit and loss statement is, managing their debt. Because one thing we want to make sure that if we're lending to these businesses, that the money that we're helping them gain access to is helping their business and not hurting them. So CDFIs play an important role in just simply, as I mentioned, helping businesses gain access to capital.
Okay. And so one next one added question from the banking side of things. Can you kind of actually give the importance of credit score being bankable, right? What does being bankable look like for a small business? Because some people may or may not know.
Yes. So your credit score is part of the 5 C's of credit worthiness. So there's 5 categories that banks and CFI lenders will look at. So it's credit/character, capacity, capital, collateral, and then condition. So credit score character is just your history of paying back debt. So one of the barriers for many entrepreneurs, many startups is a credit score. They have a credit score that just isn't quite what the bank would need it to be. Many banks may require like a 680. So I'll plug this Pathway Lending. We want to see at least a 600 minimal credit score, which may be a struggle for some, but still significantly lower than what some banks may require. But again, that's the immediate barrier, because what the bank wants to see is that do you have a history of paying off your debts? And unfortunately, some people will struggle. And sometimes it's not even necessarily their debts that may hold some people back. It could be medical debt, which I think today and age is starting to go away with some changes, but that was one of the major barriers for many people. Well, many people just didn't learn how to manage their credit scores. They didn't know the steps or the process or the 5 parts that you have to take in consideration when you look at your credit score. So one of the things I advise people to do is, if you have a low credit score, if you have a poor history, seek help, seek assistance, work with someone who can help you build your credit up. Operation Hope is an organization that I plug because they have offices in different areas, and they work with banks. So a banker will refer someone over to Operation Hope, and they provide free services. They have coaches in their organization that help people manage their credit history, look throughout their reports to see what issues they're having. I also encourage people to pull their report at least once a year. So the government allows you, or not so the government, the credit bureaus, the 3 major ones, they allow you to have access to at least one report each year for free. And I encourage people to pull that report to look at each account, each statement that they have. There may be past due that they may have. There may be stuff that they paid off, but it's still in their report that they might not realize that they need to get it off. But just to summarize things, lenders want to see that you have a good history of paying off your debt. That's why that credit score exists, and that's something we need to see. So if you can manage your debt on your personal side, then we'll be encouraged that you'll be able to manage your business debt as well.
Great, that's great. So I'm glad to kind of get that insight. I know a lot of business owners, that's one of the key barriers to scale is access to capital, and understanding those those financial fundamentals that allow us to have access to that bank money. Right, the bank money is always going to be necessary and going to the next level, because bootstrapping can only get you to a certain point. When you're doing business. You can, and you don't always want to spend your profits, even though as an entrepreneur, it's always good to reinvest back into the business. But I read a book called Profit First, and I would advise any entrepreneur to read it. It just kind of talks about, at the end of the year, you want to make sure that you got paid. So as an entrepreneur, usually everybody gets paid but the entrepreneur, because we always rolling it back into the business, rolling it back into the business. So sometime an influx of capital could be that solution, so that those profits that we are keeping, we can keep those, in the bank. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Martin. So we'll move on to the next question. So we're in an election cycle, right? So we know we're not asking anybody to talk politics, who you voting for, who you're not voting for. We're not gonna make this about that, right? They say you're not supposed to talk three things over business. Over business, religion, and politics. So we're gonna keep those under wraps. But I am gonna ask, as we move into an election year, like, what do you guys envision the future of Black entrepreneurship, like, depending on the outcome? Like, what do we see entrepreneurship going for Black people? I mean, we saw what happened during COVID in that administration. And we see now with, the Biden administration. So what do you guys see it going over the next 4 years?
Okay, not gonna talk too much about it, but I do think that as we do grow within the next 4 years, as Tennessee itself, Nashville in particular, is developing, I think it's gonna be more opportunities for Black owned business and people in the Black entrepreneurship um circuit. But I do think it's going to require a lot of work for Black entrepreneurs to be able to be in position to take on bigger contracts, bigger works, and scale their business. So, for example, we know the Tennessee Titans Stadium is coming, and it's going to be a huge opportunity that a lot of people can jump on, because it's going to be a lot of different roles and jobs and contracts that are available for Black entrepreneurs to be able to break into that generational wealth and really create a household name for themselves. However, if Black entrepreneurs are not prepared and ready, we're going to quickly miss out on those opportunities. So I do think, more organizations are going to really start to invest in that educational piece. I think, if we flip the table back 10 years ago, there probably was not a lot of organizations like Pathway or Corner to Corner or National Entrepreneurship Center that had these true educational programs to prepare businesses, in particular Black owned businesses, for these opportunities. So I just think it's going to be more opportunities for us to learn the business side, because most of us are not born into entrepreneurship like others. So learning and major opportunities, but we really do have to be prepared for those opportunities. And it's so unfortunate that a lot of times, a lot of good businesses that the communities and cities are championing, you will be really surprised at how their paperwork and their finances, like Miss Angela was speaking on, that bookkeeping piece is just not in order. And it's just black and white. If your things are not in order in-house, we will miss out on these opportunities.
So I would like to chime in right here as well. Kayla, well stated, sweetheart. At the number one thing, I think with the new year, as we know, inflation is at an all-time high, but there is going to be, it's going to turn around. You know what I mean? So I think we have to be prepared when the opportunities come, because they will come. And the one thing about us sometimes is the lack of preparation. I'm just going to give one example. For instance, there were schools that were being built in the city of Jackson, and several of us were sitting on the boards and trying to make sure that the Jackson chambers honored the things that they said, that they're going to make sure that minority-owned business got a certain percentage of these jobs, right? Well, when it came time for the minority-owned business to apply, the actual minority-owned people that I'm looking at on my screen did not have things in order, as simple as a license, simple as insurance, simple as these type of things, right? So now the minority end up being a woman that don't necessarily look like my color, but her husband is able to say that they are minority owned business, because guess what? The business is in her name. So we have to be prepared when these opportunities come, because they are coming and they're going to be available, but they're going to be available for the people that are prepared. So we as entrepreneurs and the people that are sitting in these type of seats, we got to make sure that if we know of companies and business that want to do even things as simple as cleaning, having custodial companies, guess what? When it was time for even those type of things, people that look like the people on this screen did not get them. Once again, why? Because we were not prepared. So I think it's so important. And since we're having candid conversations and transparent conversations, that we got to be prepared. Because if we don't, then we continue to get overlooked like we have year after year, generation after generation, time after time. So that's my spiel. And when I just find out that those minority people are not quite, but hey, it fits the description of what minority is.
Yes, like yes, like it is so simple as having common sense stuff. Like it literally surprises me when I get in certain rooms with certain people and they just don't have the basics of what they need, and they just get cut out. The conversation ends, and it's so sad because a lot of these companies or businesses are people are the companies and businesses that the community is championing. Like we're depending on you to make it in this room so you can bring everybody else through. But something that's so simple, and then we're upset, we're mad at the world, but it starts in house. Like we hold ourselves back. We just do. And it's just really that simple.
It's that simple. And like I said, using our resources when there was names being mentioned in companies, I'm steady trying to find a list of people that look like, I'm like, okay, I know they got a business. Let me call them. Why you don't have it? Why you don't, like the application is due in 2 weeks. You're not going to qualify because you are not prepared. So it's important that we have to. So as the year get ready to have a new election and all these things, y'all already know how it's going to come. I'm not going to talk on politics, but we got to just make sure that we bring other people up along with us.
One last thing too. Also, it's a lack of transparency. I think people who are in these positions, they might get overwhelmed that they fear to ask for the help. They fear to ask for the resource and the guidance because they want to feel empowered and like, yeah, I got it. I know I got it all. You can't tell me nothing. And that is just the wrong mindset to have at a time like this. It is about to be so much money that's about to come through in the next 4 years that will be life changing for a lot of people. But if people don't open their mouth and be honest and ethical where they are in their business, people like Dr. Webster can't even help because she's assuming, hey, Kayla, I know she got her stuff together because X, Y, and Z. And then when she get my application, when it comes to that paperwork, she sees it's nothing. Like it's just crazy. So yeah, it's a mindset. They don't want to be truthful. People are doing it for the social media likes and for chasing the dollar and not trying to do ethical and honest and transparent business. And it's so many resources out here. Like it's so many resources and it's so many programs that are particular to Black owned businesses, minority owned businesses, women owned businesses that people are not taking advantage of. And guess what the government is doing? Nobody's enrolling. Let me snatch that $1 million from that program and take it away.
Well said. Derrick or Angela, did you guys want to chime in?
I think the only thing I can add to that is that, as the lady said, there are many resources out here for minority-owned businesses, for Black-owned businesses, and if you don't know anything, there's somebody out there who knows what you don't know, who has the information you need, and there are organizations such as Pathway, such as the Tennessee Small Business Development Center that exist to provide you the information you need to get prepared for whatever you have planned for your business, whatever you're trying to do. On another note, just like your vote is powerful, having a small business, especially a business that is employing individuals and is putting money into the economy, you have a lot of power. You can gain so much power from owning a small business. whether it's on a local, especially on a local level. So that's something to keep in mind.
You guys knock it out the park with that one. That's a good way to end the panel. I can just sum it all up. Just be in position. Just be in position to get the money and take accountability, right? It's a lot of money being passed around, it's a lot of opportunity being passed around. And for the Black community, we have to understand that people are banking on our ignorance. I mean, they're counting on you not knowing that this information is available. They're counting on you to not have your licenses in place. They're counting on you to not be registered. And you will probably be met with some resistance, by certain individuals. But at the end of the day, I say this all the time. We don't count the cost of going forward. You count the cost of going backwards. So with that being said, I think we've had a great panel. The MMBC Continuum is also a resource for everybody as well to get more insight. Glad to hear from you guys in this professional conversation, but it was also a real conversation, just speaking the truth about what it takes for us to go to the next level. I want to give a round of applause, a virtual round of applause for my panelists today. You guys did exceptionally well. I'm pretty sure the people that were in and out of the panel, in and out of the discussion got value from it. So thank you.